Hi there, this is Love Johar. Thank you so much for tuning into this video and thank you so much for watching this channel. And if you have not done it already, please subscribe to this channel because this channel will actually bring a lot of important videos that will help you to grow in your career. So guys, this video is very important for anybody who wants to understand the vendor security, vendor risk, how do you protect the vendor agreements, anything and everything related to vendor risk, vendor assessment, supplier risk, supplier assessments, supplier agreements, vendor agreements, how to handle supplier security according to ISO 27001 and ISMS. Each and everything in terms of these questions will be answered in this video. So watch very carefully, and if you have any questions, feel free to add your questions in the comment section because somebody asked me this question in one of our WhatsApp groups regarding vendor risk assessment. So it's very important that first of all you understand what are the things that you should watch out for in order to handle supplier security, in order to handle vendor security, in order to make sure that your vendors are handled properly. So very important video, and I'll talk very slowly and I'll talk through the important points here. Since more and more data is being processed these days and stored with the third parties, and a lot of vendors are involved these days. So we have to make sure that all the suppliers, all the vendors that we have, the supply chain, they are handling a lot of sensitive information within our organizations. So whenever we are outsourcing, whether it's software development thing or even data storage, the vendors will not only be aware about the software development part, but also a lot of other aspects of your organization as well. And there might be other assets that you have within your organization that they come across as well. Okay, so you might be developing a new product, so there is a lot of sensitive information that vendors, your suppliers, they come across on a day-to-day basis. So this is your intellectual property that you have, so it's of utmost importance and I would say of highest responsibility from the supplier standpoint and for you as well as an organization to safeguard this data, this important asset that you have, right? So again, saying that this video is very important if you really want to make sure that you are handling all the third parties, the suppliers, the vendors that you have properly. This video will help you. Okay, and maybe your customers, your clients could also ask you what are the safeguards that you have in place in order to make sure that your intellectual property, your business data is not getting leaked by any of the suppliers or the vendors or the third party contractors that you have, which are helping you in the day-to-day processing of your business workflows. So things like that. So how to protect your information again is the basic goal here, why we are doing all this, the basic idea behind doing all this, and what is the process of handling third parties according to ISO 27001. So this is my personal opinion, this is my view that I am sharing here. So yeah, your view might be different, so yeah, I'm just sharing my view here. So I'll start with the risk assessment part, which is very important here. Clause number 6.1.2, which clearly states that you should assess the risk to your confidentiality, integrity, and availability of your information. If you are outsourcing any part of your process or you are allowing any third party to access your assets or your information or your data, okay, so risk assessment is very important here. You know, in risk assessment, you might realize or understand or come to know that some of your information might be exposed to, public, or uh, you know, uh, to public, that might cause a huge damage to your organizational reputation loss. So or the public information could be a complete loss to you if that information is present in the public domain. So such kind of facts, such kind of evidence, such kind of uh, thoughts or evidences can only occur once you do the risk assessment. So basis upon the result of the risk assessment, then you can decide what are the next steps in this process. What are the things that you need to do in order to make sure that your data is protected, your assets are protected, what kind of safeguards you need to add more, in this process. Maybe you have to do a proper background check of the supplier, or insert proper security clauses, for your suppliers, to make sure that there is nothing like that can happen in the future, things like that. So just sharing an example here. So risk assessment clause number, again I'll repeat, 6.1.2, very important in case of handling third parties, in case of handling suppliers. You have to perform this as the first step. The second step is screening, which is control number A.7.1.1, which is also known as auditing. So this is where you actually perform the background check of your potential suppliers, or your vendors, or your partners. The more thorough the checks here, and it will help you again. The more thorough the checks will be. But again, you have to make sure that you are performing these checks properly, and there are a lot of different available techniques by which you can do that. However, there is one thing to understand here, guys, that you cannot check each and everything in your supplier environment. So there will be a limit of what you can audit and what you cannot audit. So these things have to be discussed with your suppliers and vendors and third parties, contractors. So this is something that you have to look out for. And you may need to audit their existing security policies, their existing security controls, their existing security processes. When was the last time your suppliers got audited? Things like that can help you. After that, the third important thing which comes to this case is selecting the right type of clauses in the agreement that you have with your vendor, which is clearly stated in the control A.15.1.2. So once you know which risk exists and what is the specific situation in the company, you have chosen as a supplier, or your partner, you can draft then accordingly your security clauses to be inserted in a agreement. First of all, you have to do risk assessment. That was the first step which you did. And post that, depending upon the risk assessment results, then you put your safeguards, then you put your security clauses here in place to be inserted in a official agreement, the agreement that you will have with the vendor, with the third party. There may be a number of clauses that you can put here, safeguarding, you can add access controls, you can add, some kind of awareness trainings on the vendor side to make sure that the employees of your suppliers are well trained in terms of information security. And also you can propose some kind of technology trainings or technology changes, like you can inform your vendor to properly have encryption in all the data that they are dealing with, so that there is no information loss, things like that. So this is just an example that I am taking. So post clauses in the agreement, next step then comes is access control, which is control number A.9.4.1. So having an agreement with your supplier does not mean that they need to access all of your data. You have to make sure that you are giving them least privileges, and you have to make sure that you give them access only for the things, the processes, the workflows, the scope that they are responsible for, and not, again I'm saying, each and everything to your organization, because this is your own organization, and you have to safeguard the information, which is again a very important job role that you have to perform, right? So you have to make sure proper access controls are in place, least privileges are given to the suppliers. In some cases, when your supplier needs privileged access, you need to document those things, guys. You need to have change controls in place. You have to you have to implement change management process here. A lot of things come into play. Post that, the next thing that comes to mind is compliance monitoring, which is present in control A.15.2.1. So compliance monitoring is very important. You may hope and you may believe that your supplier will comply with all the security clauses that you have set in your agreement, but sometimes this is not the case. I'm not saying that it happens every time, but sometimes it might not be a case, right? So this is why you have to monitor, and if necessary you might have to audit as well, whether your vendor is complying with all the clauses, the safeguards that they have agreed to at the time of signing the contracts with you to safeguard your data. This is something that you need to check. You should check. This is something that you need to check. Compliance monitoring, very important, guys. Post that, again a very important step that sometimes gets skipped, which is termination of the agreement. No matter whether your agreement has been ended or not, whether the time period post which your agreement does not withstands, you have to make sure that you terminate your agreement. You have to make sure that all your assets are returned. You have to make sure that all the accesses are revoked. You have to make sure that all the privileges are removed from the vendor side. All these things are important. Termination clauses should specify that. Termination of the agreement should have step-by-step procedures. What needs to be done post termination of the agreement. Very important, guys. So make sure you note this, and these are very important steps. Even if you hire any third-party vendor, these 6 steps that I have detailed here, if you watch this video carefully, they will actually help you a lot. And this will help in vendor risk assessment, as somebody asked me earlier in the group. This will help in supplier risk assessment. This will help in third-party contractual risk assessments. So this is something that you need to look out for. And this process might change for a lot of you. This is not a one-size-fits-all approach here. These are some suggestions again that I am trying to give. There might be some other add-ons here that you might like to have and put in place. So do not feel shy, just go for it. Your situation will be different, your organization will be different, your kind of controls can be different, your kind of policies, supplier security policy can be different. So you have to make sure that you understand what is of utmost importance to your vendor scope, and you figure out the most appropriate approach for your organization and implement accordingly. So I think this video is very important for anybody who is struggling to understand how to handle third parties, how to handle suppliers, how to handle supplier security, how to handle vendor security, vendor risk assessment. This is very important, guys. If you understand this video properly, this will help you. And again, I'm saying, if you have any questions, if you want to ask anything, feel free to check with me. Feel free to ask in the WhatsApp groups that I have. Feel free to mention in the comment section of this video and I'll try to respond ASAP as soon as I can. Again, thank you so much for watching this video, guys, and stay safe as this is a pandemic situation. Take care. Thank you. Bye bye.